So this kid is about to get stranded on a desert island with no way home. His name is Luka, and he's around 16 years old. He goes to a strict Catholic boarding school on an island in Tonga called Isla Malu, and this boarding school just sucks. One day, Luka and 5 of his friends, Kele, Tasi, Sione, Malu, and Fatai, decide they're just going to leave. They're bored out of their minds, the food is terrible, and they're dying for an adventure. They hatch a plan. They're going to check out Fiji, which is about 500 miles away from Isla Malu. There's no way they can make it, but they're determined to try. So they gather some basic supplies and steal a boat from a local fisherman named Tavita. Tavita has a reputation for being an irritable guy, and the boys think he deserves it. The 6 of them push out to sea on the stolen boat, coasting along and having the time of their lives. But in the middle of the night, kaboom, a massive storm hits. The wind rips the sail apart, bam, the rudder breaks, and by the time the storm passes, the boat is barely holding together. Worse, they're completely lost and have no food. They manage to collect some rainwater, but it's not much. For 7 days, Luka and the others drift at sea, surviving on scraps of rainwater and sheer willpower. Then, on the 8th day, they spot a small island in the distance. It's not much, but it's better than being stranded at sea. Thankfully, the current pushes their boat close enough that they can swim to shore. When they arrive, they realize they've landed on Pulotu, an uninhabited island about 100 miles away from Isla Malu. Pulotu is small, only half a mile wide, and has little to offer. The boys are starving and dehydrated, but they scrape by, catching seabirds, drinking their blood, and eating their eggs. Despite their best efforts, they can't start a fire. They don't have the right tools, and the wood is too damp. Rainfall keeps them hydrated, but life is harsh. A month into their ordeal, they try building a raft from vines and driftwood to escape. But when they test it, boom, it falls apart in the waves. Luka starts to lose hope. Then, during one of their explorations, the boys stumble upon the remnants of a small settlement. Apparently, a community once lived here about 100 years ago, but they were abducted by slave ships. The boys find old tools, including some knives. These knives are a game changer. They can finally cut open coconuts and build better shelters. 3 months in, the boys achieve another breakthrough. They start a fire. After struggling with damp wood, they finally find a dry log and create enough friction to spark flames. It's a huge moment. They can finally cook their food. That night, they have a feast of fish, birds, and wild beans. It feels like Thanksgiving. By 6 months, the boys have fallen into a survival routine. They fish, catch wild chickens, and live in a sturdy hut. In their downtime, they make wood carvings, write songs, and exercise in a homemade gym. Fatai even crafts a ukulele out of driftwood, coconuts, and wire. Back on Isla Malu, their families are grieving. The boys have been missing for so long that they're presumed dead. Funerals are held, and life seems to move on. After a year on Pulotu, Luka has nearly given up hope. Then one day, a fishing boat captained by an Australian named Jack Warner passes by. Jack is scanning the island with binoculars when he notices strange burn marks on the cliffs. He knows Pulotu is uninhabited, so he's curious. As Jack gets closer, he sees Luka jumping into the water and swimming toward his boat, while the other boys scream and wave from the shore. Jack initially thinks these kids are native to the island, but when Luka reaches him, he speaks English and explains they've been stranded for over a year. Jack invites the boys onto his boat and redirects to Isla Malu. After 15 months, Luka and his friends finally return home, but it's not over. Tavita, the fisherman they stole the boat from, hasn't forgotten. He presses charges, and the 6 boys are thrown in jail. Jack, however, sees their story as incredible and negotiates with the Sydney television network to sell the film rights. He uses the money to pay Tavita for his stolen boat, convincing him to drop the charges. Once the charges are dropped, the boys are released. A few days later, they return to Pulotu with Jack to help recreate their story for the documentary. Luka and Jack remain close friends to this day.